Hello guys, how are you? This is the build or the rebuild of the 1400 REVELL Titanic ship. I did this build 3 years ago. My life was a bit different, not in location, but mainly in life. It's a bit different. But I had to redo this video. And why? My video the copyright soundtrack of it, some musics that I chose back then, which are indeed copyright free, were and are still claimed by fake companies that just want to take the dividends of free copyright musics and claim them as they are the authors and I am infringing the law. And I contested it. The author of the music doesn't do anything because he just don't give a damn about who's using his musics. And YouTube does what it has to do. It has an engine, and on this issue it's not even its fault. So I refused myself to have a video with almost 500,000 views, which is true. Just delete it, or to take the soundtrack off for that. I just refused. So what I did was I remastered this video, redone, re-edited from scratch, better light, color grading, better sound, and some commentings. Please be aware, this is an old build of an old kit, which I enjoyed very much. I gave this kit away. I gave it to someone. I hope it still exists. And this is the build of the 1400 Titanic. A video that I shouldn't do again, but even so, I have to. So sorry for it, but even so, I hope you enjoy it. Regarding this build, let's say that if I was building it today, I would do some things in a different way, okay? Regarding the rigging of it, I wouldn't use melted plastic. The steel cables of the chimneys, I would do it a bit more well done. I even would search for some photo etch set or something to improve the kit. However, I had tremendous fun on this kit. Some of you started this kit, never finished it. Yes, it has its fit issues. It's an old kit. I believe Monogram or Revell Germany, very old one. I don't know. It's a Revell kit. But even so, it fitted very well for its age. And I had to use in certain parts super glue with a kicker, but even so, it fitted pretty acceptable for a kit of its age. So here, as you can see, guys, I am taking care of the hull. I glued the hull with super glue and kicker because it was a bit warped, I admit, back then. It went perfectly, and I used super glue to cover seam lines, which is even better. And now I am trying to isolate the areas where I'm going to paint the hull red, the black because it was primed in black matte Tamiya, as you are going to see, and then I used acrylic paints to paint even the wood effect, and it's all acrylics, okay guys, except the white parts of the kit. The whole structure, which was painted in matte white. Now let's just paint the wood deck. I used this wood deck color and varnished it and used an AK wood wash and cleaned it thoroughly, and it gave it a tone of wood, not too old, brand new, which, as you all know, was one of the characteristics of Titanic. It was his maiden voyage, so I took an effort to clean the best I could the deck in order to look like wood, but new. And now let's paint the whole red color below waterline, that whole red characteristic of Titanic. When I did this kit, the kit itself was bigger than the table I was working on. It's not very difficult still to work on a ship and to notice that the bow and the stern almost hit the limits of the table. I have a very small table. So each time a colleague of mine entered the room to go to his locker to do whatever, to get something of his, and opened the door and went through, I just, oh my god, it's going to hit Titanic and it's going to hit the floor. But none of those things happened. I had a lot of pleasure building this one. Relaxed me back then. Yes, it's just a simple out-of-the-box build. The railings are very rough, let's call it. But the ship itself is so graceful. It still is. It's so graceful, so beautiful, with such keen and beautiful and clean lines, that when I finished this one, I was really proud of myself back then. because this size, a ship of this size built, I'm not bitching about this, but built on the conditions I build, yeah, that was something of a kind. And I took a lot of pleasure, and I still like this build until today. I just had to redone this video. I am sorry again for it, guys, but I, as I said, refused to delete some soundtrack that I honestly and legally downloaded just because a monopoly company or some fake company wants me to do that. So I hope you are still here, and I hope you are still enjoying this video. As you can see, I had to hand paint, brush paint a lot, and I do mean a lot of deck and surface details, which was very fun to do also. Reminds me the time when I was younger, airbrushes were a rarity and you took effort to paint everything. I still have to improve my brush paint a lot, I admit. But the simple fact that I was there just painting that piece so that when it fits the hole, it made sense, and with a lot of detail, with the most detail I could do with the brush. Well, it just filled me with joy. It was a pleasure to hand paint this one, to do some small research. Which color is this? Green at the left side, or is it the right side, starboard? I don't know. It was very, very relaxing build. Here I am using super glue with the kicker, with super glue accelerator. And if you do this in the future, please be careful, because if you break this railing, you're gonna have a lot of trouble just to make it perfect and to do this curvature of the bow of Titanic. With regular glue, it is very much difficult to do this. So if you use super glue, a bit of kicker, it will be fine. The more I saw this kit, this build, growing up, and Titanic taking its classic shape, the more motivated I was. Today, I would probably place those cranes on the correct position. I didn't research that back then. I don't care. I mean, I don't care. It's Titanic. Yeah, the crane should be in on parking position, let's say start position. Yes, but the more I saw this kit taking its shape, the more motivated I was. And I do know that these railings are very thick, not at scale, not very gracious, not very, very beautiful. But if you clean it very well, they will fit each other, and it will help to the overall build of the Titanic. As you know, this Titanic was all out-of-the-box build. And even so, the rails, even being plastic rails, old plastic rails as they are, very thick, not so graceful, they helped on the Titanic appearance and fitted very well between each other and on the surface. It's time to paint the famous Titanic chimneys. I used the Revell paints, aqua paints, which some guys complain because they are very thick, and yes, they are. I thinned these paints with alcohol, and you will see at the perfect pressure, which is between 20 psi, more or less, depending on your thinning of your paint. The coverage of these paints is amazing. Yes, after each application you have to clean thoroughly your airbrush because they cloth your airbrush. But the paints itself, and for figures, oh my god, they are fantastic. So Revell paints are not as bad as you sometimes say it is, but I do understand that they have their other side, their other bad side of it. But I used these paints to paint the chimneys, and they were fantastic. you ask me today, I would do things differently. I would use thread, for instance, stretched a bit more the antenna, the radio antenna, make the steel cables that sustain the chimneys a bit more straight, because some of them were a bit bent. But even so, really enjoyed this project. And after all this work, which was almost a month and a half, according to the conditions that I had to work and the available time, I finished this Titanic. I really enjoyed the process, really loved the process. And I never will forget this kit. It is an amazing kit. I gave it away. Not regret that, not even for a second. It's very well where it is. What I wanted to say is that as long as it is in my channel, the video build, it's mine. Not mine, but mine, you know, it's in my heart. I really loved it. Again, I am sorry for putting you through all this video again. That's why I don't premiere this video. It's not even fair. It's a video that already existed. I made it better, edited it a bit better. I hope you enjoy this one, despite all this, guys. Keep modeling, guys, keep modeling. Always with a smile.